Welcome to the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. We've got a fast-paced hour of fishing, hunting, and conservation covering the nation and the Northwest, including 13 extra minutes of local content you'll only hear on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.
Welcome aboard. We've got some great guests for you today, to include Bob Loomis with Mack's Lure. He's back and will join us at the end of our program to tell you about a unique lure for saltwater salmon you may have never tried before. One place you may want to try it is Marine Area 4. We're going to be talking to Tom Burlingame with XL Fishing Charters about salmon season that opens up on June 22nd out of Neah Bay, and he's got a forecast for both Chinook and coho I think you're going to really like. But before we talk to these fine gentlemen, it's once again time to tell you what's hot and what's not. Brought to you by your local Sportsman's Warehouse stores in Silverdale and Everett and Puyallup and Federal Way. And if you need camping gear or hiking gear, you've got to head down there. They've got a whole bunch of it, and a lot of it is on sale. We'll start off with news about the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. The about face, as I call it, is official. The use of barbless hooks on the Columbia River for salmon and steelhead, along with a number of tributaries, is now voluntary instead of mandatory. Several industry insiders say this rule change came down at the same time the Washington Fish and Wildlife Commission reversed their position on lower Columbia gillnet reforms as a way of figuratively throwing recreational anglers a bone. The original barbless hook rule was enacted on the Columbia River in 2013, and at that time, Jim Scott, the assistant director of the WDFW fish program, supported that requirement, stating anglers fishing for salmon and steelhead in Puget Sound and ocean waters have been required to use barbless hooks for years. The new rule on the Columbia River is consistent with our state's long-standing commitment to sustainable fisheries. Scott went on to say, anyone who's ever fished with barbless hooks knows they're easier to remove from a fish's mouth than a barbed hook. That's important in fisheries where anglers are required to release wild fish unharmed. So, here's a question for you. Has the science really changed all that much in 6 years? Or are our commissioners playing politics when it comes to managing our salmon stocks? I'll let you be the judge of that. Doing our weekly check at NorthwestFishingReports.com, poster Clipco22 shared a report from a lake many of us have seen traveling the North Cascades Highway, but I would venture few have fished. The lake, Lake Diablo. Trolling spoons behind Dodgers, he and his brother caught and released 6 fish between 11 and 17 inches. Very nice. One was a bull trout, the rest were rainbows. Sounds like I might have to stop there the next time I'm driving through. In other news, did you hear about that cougar attack within the city limits of Leavenworth? Yes, that German-themed tourist town has a wooded park along the Wenatchee River, and last weekend, a young boy was attacked by a cougar around dusk. Fortunately, the boy's family had some dogs, and those dogs chased the cougar off before it injured the child seriously. Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife officials responded, and using their own dogs, were able to track down and dispatch that animal. This story makes me remember the bill that State Representative Sherry Appleton out of Poulsbo introduced earlier this year that would have outlawed the use of dogs by state officials to find cougars even after humans are attacked. If you ask the experts, 9 times out of 10, the only way you are going to track down a cougar is with a hound, and personally, I'm glad the state did, because an attacking cougar in a tourist town, that's no good for business or public safety. I did reach out to Representative Appleton for comment about her failed bill in the wake of this attack, and just like last time we reached out, we've received no reply at all. And with that, you now know what's hot, what's not, and why some things political make no sense at all here in the Pacific Northwest.
That's your first local shot of the outdoors. Now let's see what's going on across the nation.
From well-known saltwater hotspots to hidden alpine lakes, learn the latest in tips, tackle, and techniques to help you catch more fish.
It's going to be a great show.
Northwest Fishing Reports, Sundays at 5 p.m. on Q13 Fox.
Ready for more local fishing and hunting? You got it. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.
We're checking in again with Tom Burlingame with XL Fishing Charters, and we're actually broadcasting from the marina at Neah Bay. Tom, want to talk about the upcoming salmon season. Area 4, Neah Bay, doesn't get a lot of press, but in this year where there's lots of limited opportunity in portions of the Sound, this area is offering some very good opportunities.
Yeah, we're excited, John. We have a much larger coho quota this year, 16,000 fish compared to 4,000 last year. So we're excited about our upcoming season. Our Chinook quota is about the same as last year. We're going to have 5,000 fish, so we should have a really nice season.
What are the limits this year? I understand June 22nd is the opener. It's going to be mainly kings at that point. What are we looking at in terms of retention for Chinook and retention for coho when they start showing up?
It's a straight 2-fish limit, so you can have 2 coho or 2 kings or one of each in your bag limit. Like you said, we open up June 22nd, and we're expected to go through September this year.
And what is prime time for the coho when it comes to fishing out here at Neah Bay?
For coho, late August and September is prime time. They get bigger during the season. These fish are growing, they're feeding, they're getting ready to go to the rivers. They're growing up to a pound a week at times. And so late August, first part, and the whole month of September is great.
And I think it's worth noting here that this is the one bright spot of our salmon seasons this year is the great run of coho we're expecting. I mean, last year you had a very small quota for coho, didn't you?
That's right. We had 4,000 fish, and we had them caught by the 1st of August. And if it wasn't for the commercial trawlers that gave us 1,000 coho, we would have been out of fish 1st of August, but we were able to make it through the 12th of August with those extra coho.
Well, it sounds like booking a salmon trip out here at Neah Bay is a smart bet. I know you're in high demand, but I also know that you have come up with a partial solution for that, and you might have some openings this summer.
You bet, John. We've added a second boat to our fleet. We finally got the guy that we wanted to run a second boat, and his name is Joe Peterson, and he's running a boat for us. It's just like the Cabazon, so it's the same experience, and we're looking forward to fishing side by side with Joe this summer.
Salmon fishing this summer, the place to go, Neah Bay, Marine Area 4, and the place to book your trip is xlfishingcharters.com. That's EXCEL fishingcharters.com. And if you need a place to stay, you'll be hard-pressed to do better than the Inn at Neah Bay. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, John.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. Join the habitat leader and help create wildlife habitat in your community. Go to pheasantsforever.org.
Game-changing. That's the best way to describe the new Scent Flash UV Triangle Flasher from Mack's Lure Company. This 360-degree rotational inline flasher features a scent release system attracting salmon to the lure behind it like no other flasher on the market. Soak the free scent pad with any type of oil or gel, or load up the cavity with any type of bait for fishing success beyond your wildest dreams. It's the Scent Flash UV Triangle Flasher, only from Mack's Lure Company.
Don't leave yet. We've got one more local shot of fishing and hunting to wrap up the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute, and with us again is Bob Loomis with Max Lure. Bob, great to have you back.
Thank you, John.
So a lot of folks are getting excited about saltwater salmon fishing. We're talking about charter boat captains and weekend warriors are going to be heading out anywhere from Brookings, Oregon, to Garibaldi, to Ilwaco, to Westport, and all the way up to the saltwater of British Columbia. Anything in particular that you'd recommend for the salt that's going to work for both Chinook and coho?
John, one of the products that we've got is called the Salmon Wiggle Hoochie, and what it is it's a squid body, a 4-inch squid body. They're all high UV, and on the front of it is a crankbait style bill that we call the wiggle bill. And this salmon wiggle hoochie moves tremendously well in the water when trolled behind a dodger. You don't have to have it with a dodger because it does create its own movement, but it works great for attraction, bringing fish into the lure by using a dodger with it. But it works really well as far as added movement. You can use it with a strip bait. You can fish it without. You can fish it with scent, and it works fantastic for Chinooks and silvers.
I was going to ask about the scent. I was going to ask about the bait. You covered that. In terms of a dodger versus a triangle flasher, why the dodger over the triangle flasher?
Well, you could fish the triangle flasher with this one because it creates its own movement. So you don't have to have a dodger or a large paddle flasher to create movement and add that added attraction. A triangle will work very well with this particular product because it does create its own movement.
And if you're using the Mack Scent Flash, you can put some scent in there as well and double your fun. Again, it's the Salmon Wiggle Hoochie. It is the squid body that works like a crankbait, and it'll work. Catch some silvers and Chinook out there in the saltwater this summer. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, John.
That's all for this week, but don't worry. We'll do it all again next Saturday morning from 7 to 8, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.